to Land Rover Toolbox videos, and welcome back to the guys that are regulars. And for the people who have just joined us, we are basically today covering the Td4, which is a DDE 4.0 system for diesel electronics. Right, well, the DDE4, or the Bosch system, okay, on the common rail is quite easily tuned up. And we have a trick by a live tuning, which allows us to be able to read the ECU, write it to memory, have the ECU tweaked, and then have it reprogrammed. This is a big advantage to those who want a little bit more power. Of course, the ATRIC is supplied by a live tuning, and live tuning also is sponsoring this video. Okay, before we get into actually tuning the vehicle, we want to do a few modifications. Basically, we want to make sure the engine's okay. Now, we're going to learn a little bit in this tutorial about the air filter and the breather system. This needs a modification. As you can see here, this is the original filter, which is clogged on the breather system. Okay. We know some of you guys have a problem actually finding how to get the air filter housing off. Not much of a problem. And we're also going to take the EGR valve off. As you can see, this is in a bit of a state here. Basically, we're going to replace it with this component here, which is going to blank off the EGR. Okay, so first of all, I'll just point out here, this is where the breather is, which needs a modification. Okay, and you need to remove a few components to get to it. We're also going to take off this part of the induction system, which will make life a lot easier for us. We're going to do the EGR and the turbo intercooler hoses. So away with the clips, and you'll also find a couple of screws. One's here and a rubber grommet, and then the other one is underneath this hose, just down there. You can see that. Once that's removed, like so, you can see the inlet manifold underneath. So the next thing to do, and we have a 5mm Allen key, is to remove the air filter housing, which is here. Now the rub is there's two Allen keys at the back of the filter, and then there are 3 Allen keys or Allen bolts at the front. Okay, one of them is actually missing on this engine. So once you've undone them, you can then take the oil filler cap off, and you should be able to, as long as the Allen keys have been undone completely, like I haven't done, right, is lift this out of the way, like so. Now this is how you get to the air filter, which is sitting at the back of the engine here. And this one is absolutely filthy. So basically the part number, if you need to know, is on here. Okay, and it fits in that way. Okay, we have a new one with a lamb's wool coat on it, and I'm actually removed this so I get a little bit more of an airflow into the engine. It's your choice whether you want to do it or not, but the paper element should be sufficient enough. You push it in, and then you should be able to push it down to locate it into place, like so. Okay, if that's sitting in there all right, you can then get the filter housing back into place. Also at the back of the engine you will find a filter that looks like this. You can replace this if you have a service pack, and this filter here we're not going to change. Instead we're going to go for this housing breather and do a modification. Now that's easily lifted out of the way, and it's still held on by Allen key bolts, and you can see in here you can either replace the filter like so, which will come in a service pack, and this is the breather portion. So the filter here you can see from new is actually like this with a rubber O-ring. Okay, so we're not going to fit that. We're going to fit the modified part, which is not a filter, it's an oil and air separator. Okay, unlike the filter, which needs to be changed on a service interval, once this is fitted it doesn't need to be disturbed. But what I will say, we're going to have to go through a little bit of a strip out first. One of those is removing the power loom from the injectors, and they're removed like so. You unplug all 4 of them. It's okay, it won't hurt it. And then you undo the 3 screws to remove the loom from these brackets. Okay, so once you've taken all 3 out, you can then lift the loom out of the way. Socket that you'll need for these screws is an E4 socket. and this is the first time it's ever been used from my toolbox. You will also need to remove the injector spill rails, and there are clips on the top. You pull them out and save them, do not lose them, and then gently lift the plastic fittings and the piping off the injectors and put those safely out of the way where dirt isn't going to fall into them. Once you've done that, you can then undo the breather housing with a 5mm Allen key again, like so. I'm not going to tell you how many screws there are because you'll be able to find them. Once you've lifted it out, okay, you can then dispense of this filter. It should look like this with a plastic portion here, and you can remove that, take the filter out, and there's an O-ring in the bottom. Remember that the O-ring needs to be fitted back in when you fit your modification. Okay, so the modification, basically you can only fit it in one way, like so. So it looks like this. Easy. The gaskets, they have tabs on them that fit in a slot, and that makes it easy to remove and replace. Just remember that the tabs have to go back in the right places. Okay, it's a little bit of a fiddly job, however it's not too bad to do. Make sure that you have the tabs in the correct slot. Once the gaskets are fitted, then you can go ahead and fit the housing back into place and screw it down. You then will be wanting to fit the injector spill rail back into place. Basically, these pieces are plastic, so you have to be careful with them. When you push them, make sure that they click into place and they're located properly, otherwise they will leak. If it's not fitted properly, the clip which fits in the groove there will not fit. So basically a light tap with a screwdriver handle will do the job, but just be careful with these. Right, so the clip goes in like so, and repeat for all 4 of them. Common rail's fantastic because you have electrical connections. You basically really don't need to undo too much. It's not a struggle. Okay, so you refit the injector loom. You can't get it wrong because the loom is positioned for the plugs to be in the right place. Click them all back into place and then secure the loom back down with the screws. So far so good. Air filter housing, okay, the top part of it, you have your 2 screws at the back here. What's important is that this groove here is located to the corresponding part on the engine. If it's not, it won't fit properly and you will struggle to screw it down. Okay, so the filter housings are put into place. Now we have the EGR system here, which is a valve that lets exhaust gas through into the inlet. This blanking part here actually looks a bit strange, and you wouldn't think at first until you actually strip it where it fits together. So basically it has 4 bolts to the manifold with gasket. You have a Jubilee clip, which is a clamping Jubilee clip just on here, and a pipe to fit. That's it. Anywho, we're going to fit DPH Sport Performance silicone hoses. And these ones we've reviewed already in a video, and the link is in the description below. Basically we've chosen orange, but you can get them in all sorts of colours. And silicone hoses basically are a lot more robust and they last longer, plus they also look good. Basically, first of all, we want to be fitting the intercooler pipe, and then above that we can then fit the EGR back onto the induction system here, like so. Silicone hoses are actually easier to fit than rubber, so 2 minutes and the job's done completely. You'll basically need to make sure that when you buy the hoses that you have decent hose clips. You can either use high torque stainless steel, or like here I'm using Jubilee clips. They're not tightened up that tight that they're gonna split. However, they need to be tight enough so you don't lose any pressure through them. And the best way to check this obviously is to fit them and then run the engine. Because we've had the injector pipes off, with them running you can just check to see if there's any leakage whatsoever. They shouldn't be. Okay, so we can now rev it up and have a look to see if it hisses. If there's any hissing, the pipe clamps are not tight enough. So run it and rev it. And you see the pipes expand, not too much. But there you go, basically the induction system's ready now.